Hey, this is the 50th review that I've done on YouTube. I started this channel 1 month ago today, and I was counting last night, and I was like, holy shit, this will be my 50th review already. It's been a fun ride. Alright, so getting to The Black Room. This movie is starring Natasha Henstridge from Species, the girl that me and all of my 15-year-old buddies used to just gush about because of her nude scenes in that movie. And I'm pretty sure if you're around my age, you had the exact same experience. She was kind of a legend at that time because of that film. This movie is about a couple who moves into a house where tragedy has happened. Original, right? And the house is haunted by sex demons. And that's basically the premise. I mean, the husband starts to become possessed and becomes overly sexual. And there's a lot of ghost rape in this movie, like The Entity, but except for people are enjoying it instead of fighting it. This movie definitely has a very, late night Cinemax, Skinemax, if you remember, feel to it for sure. It is not a great movie by any means, but I am going to give you a review as a full-blown pervert that I am. I had a total blast with this movie. It was fun, it was sexy, it was perverted and stupid, and I enjoyed the shit out of it. So, I definitely wouldn't recommend this to you unless you like kind of more ridiculous, erotic type Skinemax movies, but with better production value and, just a better film in general. I mean, the old Skinemax movies were super, super, super poorly produced and had horrible acting and looked like they were made for TV. This has good production value. The acting in it's pretty good. Everything looks good. The special effects, the gore effects, when there is some gore in this movie, is really cool. You also have Lynn Shane in this from Insidious and a ton of other horror movies now. She's become super popular. I remember seeing her back as the teacher in Nightmare on Elm Street. And I remember then seeing her later in Kingpin and being like, isn't that the teacher in Nightmare on Elm Street? Even though she's only in that for 2 seconds. And now she's just become this horror icon, which is awesome. And it also has Tiffany Shepis in this. And weirdly enough, personal story, a buddy of mine had her call me. He was at a party and he met her, and she's like, oh, I'm a horror queen, this and that. And he was like, oh, my buddy's into horror. And she's like, give me the phone, I'll call him. I guess she was all drunk. And I get a call at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And I answer it thinking it's going to be my buddy. And it's Tiffany Shepis. And she's like going on drunk as hell. Really sweet, really funny. It was such a great thing to happen. I was like, oh my god, this is not what I was expecting at all. So I thought that was pretty damn funny. And also a face that popped up in this. He's only in it for a minute or two, but I really liked his couple minutes in this. Was James Duvall from Donnie Darko, and a couple other cool movies. I really like that guy. I haven't seen him in a while, so I was like, oh, hey, man, I haven't seen you in forever. Frank from fucking Donnie Darko. This movie has a lot of neon lighting, which, if you've ever seen my other reviews, I just rave about that anytime it's in a movie. I love it, I love it. I really liked the demon makeup, especially on the main baddie, the devil-looking guy. Really cool makeup there. I really liked the husband's transformation. He's really sweet and kind of a genuine everyday guy in the beginning. And when he makes that transformation and becomes the demon, the possessed guy, I actually thought he was pretty, intimidating, and he really embodied that role very, very well. So I was actually surprised to see such quality acting from him. I don't know the guy, so I wasn't expecting him to have a bad performance or a good performance, but I don't know, in the kind of movie that it was, I was expecting the whole movie to be stupid. I mean, this movie has a 3.4 on IMDb. Now, I don't use IMDb as some gauge to know what to expect of a film, because that can be very wishy-washy. But usually, if any film is under 4.0, it's almost always garbage. I mean, that's always like a good bar. Like, if something's under 4.0 into the threes, it's usually shit time. And this does not deserve to be in the 3.4 area at all. I can see why people dislike this, because it is, erotic, silly, Skinamax kind of stuff. But 3.4, no fucking way. This should be way high fours. I mean, I personally would put it in the fives or even the six for myself, but I know for the general audience, this should be more in the 4 area. So 3.4 is fucking harsh. I actually really, really, really liked the idea of using, sex as the main antagonist, basically. I mean, sex is the weapon here. And coming from someone who enjoys it so much and kind of is a slave to it in a way, I totally understand, like, when they are being seduced by sexual pleasure and fantasy, it's, I get it. I get why the characters are so in. It's pretty fucking hard to ignore when you're having an orgasm. Like, if you were just standing somewhere, I mean, they go out to dinner and he starts doing it to like waitresses and stuff, and they're at a table and they can't control themselves. They're like falling over themselves, having, orgasms. It reminds me of that scene in The Matrix 2, where, he makes the girl with the cheesecake or whatever she's eating. I can't remember what food it was. But, she eats it, she has an orgasm, and she's just like, she can't help it. You can't help that. So I thought that was an interesting weapon to use within the film. It isn't knives. It isn't chainsaws. It's orgasms. I mean, that's an interesting thing. I'm sure there's plenty of movies out there. I don't watch a ton of these type of erotic type horror movies, like the witchcraft movies. There was like 16 of those. I'm sure that at some point, or in all of them, I've never seen one. I know that those kinds of movies probably play that up more. But here, I haven't seen sex as a weapon like that from a ghost. Like there's a really hot ghost rape scene in the beginning. There's a super hot chick being, and her nipples are like moving around without anything. And it was a cool special effect. Like, her nipples are all moving this way and that way, and her lips are all they're getting kissed on, and it looked really cool. There's some stupid CGI in this movie for sure, here and there. But for the most part, I was pretty impressed by the practical effects. Now, the things that I didn't like about this movie was being such a sexually centered film, really playing on eroticism and fantasy and sexuality. There was very little nudity in this. I mean, you cast the chick from Species, who's basically known for her amazing rack. And don't get me wrong, I get it. Natasha's a little older now, and she probably doesn't want to show her boobs anymore, and who knows? I don't know. But the fact that you picked an actress like that, and then she never shows anything, there's very, very, very little nudity in this movie, which I don't know if that was an artistic choice, like, people will take this movie a little more seriously if we're not just gratuitous with our nudity. And it's like, dude, in a movie like this, the nudity is warranted. It's expected, and it's appreciated. And here it was just lacking. some of the stuff in this movie is silly overall. I mean, in this kind of movie, it's basically inevitable for it to be silly. It's hard to. It would be very hard to do a movie like this and make it very like serious and well received in that way. It's gonna have silly stuff going on. The ending is pretty damn silly. It's very expected. It's very obvious. And then the thing that actually is keeping the demon within the black room is like this jeweled frisbee. It's so stupid. If you just click on Netflix, it's like the picture for the movie that they show as a little clip. It's just like Natasha Henstridge is holding up this really stupid looking fucking sphere that has jewels on it. It's like they never explain what that thing is. They never explain why it's holding it back. And it just like flies across the room and like sticks to the door for no reason. It's silly. It's just like, really? That is what you came up with? You just found some fucking frisbee in the house and bedazzled it? And that was what you were going to, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, if you're into kind of more erotic type fun films with some decent gore and some cool acting from people, and you cannot take things so fucking seriously and just sit back and have a good time, I think this is definitely a movie you should check out.